Welcome to 21st Sports recap and reaction for the San Francisco 49ers at the Arizona Cardinals in their Week 3 matchup, which happened September 27, 2015, as these two division rivals went at it. We're going to go over the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. Let's get started in the first quarter. Less than 4 minutes in, Justin Bethel picked off Colin Kaepernick, and he returned it 21 yards for the pick six as he hit pay dirt, and Catanzaro added the extra point, and it was 7-0 Cardinals over the 49ers. Then 2 minutes later, the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, runs it back 33 yards for another pick six. Catanzaro adds another extra point, and it was 14-0 Cards over the Niners. So that would be the score after 1 quarter of play. Then just seconds into the second quarter, Chris Johnson runs it in for a 6-yard touchdown. Catanzaro adds the extra point, and it was 21-0 Arizona over San Francisco. Then with less than 8 minutes left before halftime, Chris Johnson runs for his second touchdown of the game, this one from a yard out as he punches it in, and the extra point by Catanzaro made it 28-0 Arizona over San Fran. So then finally, after 28 unanswered points, the Niners get on the scoreboard with just over 2 minutes left before halftime when Colin Kaepernick ran it in from 12 yards out. Dawson added the extra point, and it cut into the lead, cutting it down to 21 with the score Arizona 28, San Francisco 7. But just before halftime, Chandler Catanzaro kicked a 22-yard field goal, and that made it 31-7 Cardinals over the Niners. So that was the score heading into the locker rooms at halftime. Then in the third quarter, just 2.5 minutes into the third, Larry Fitzgerald catches a 4-yard touchdown pass from Carson Palmer. Catanzaro adds yet another extra point, and it was 38-7 Cardinals over the Niners. Then with a little over 4 minutes still left in the third, Kevin Minter gets the safety, and it was 40-7 Cardinals over the 49ers. So then in the fourth quarter, with 5 minutes still left to play, Palmer hooks up with Larry Fitzgerald for the second time in this game. This one an 8-yard touchdown pass, and Catanzaro kicks another extra point, and it was 47-7 Arizona over San Francisco as the Cardinals hold on to win by 40 points as they just dominated this game from start to finish. They picked off Kaepernick 4 times. Of course, those 2 pick sixes within 2 minutes of each other there in the first quarter, in the first half of the first quarter. In just the first 6 minutes of the game, they already had 14 points on the scoreboard that was put up by the defense. So the Cardinals are undefeated still. They're 3-0. They're 2-0 at home, and they get a big win against a division rival, and they are in the driver's seat in the NFC West with the victory. And teams that go 3-0, that start the season 3-0, they go on to the playoffs 75% of the time. The Niners fall to 1-2. And in this game, Carson Palmer, 20 of 32, 311 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And Chris Johnson, he must be drinking from the same fountain of youth as Palmer, as he had 22 carries for 110 yards in this game and 2 touchdowns. Colin Kaepernick, just 9 of 19 for 67. That's right, 67 passing yards total. And he had no touchdowns through the air. He did have the one on the ground, but he had 4 interceptions. He actually had 46 yards on the ground off of 7 carries, including that touchdown that I just spoke of. Carlos Hyde, 15 carries for 51 yards in the game. And Larry Fitzgerald comes up with 9 catches for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. As the Cardinals, like I said, they found the fountain of youth in Arizona between Palmer, Johnson, and Fitzgerald. 3 players who have had tremendous careers, and they're still doing it, and they're at the top of their game, and they put together quite the game here. Of course, they did get a lot of help from their defense. Get to that in a second. We already talked about that some, but John Brown, 3 catches for 62 yards. Johnson also had a reception for 40 yards to go along with his 110 yards rushing, which gave him 150 total yards in the game. And the leading receiver for San Francisco was Selleck with just 3 catches for 29 yards. Bolden, 2 catches for 16 yards. And Catanzaro, 1 for 1 on the field goals, 6 for 6 on the extra points. They kept them busy on those 33-yard kicks. Dawson, 1 for 1 on extra points. He did not attempt a field goal in this game. So the Honey Badger, Mathieu, comes up with 2 interceptions in this game. Minter had 7 tackles. Rucker had a sack. Woodley had a sack as well. Gerard Powers had an interception, and Justin Bethel had an interception. As Mathieu and Bethel each had pick sixes in this game. Acker had an interception for San Francisco. Armstead had a sack for the Niners as well, and Bowman was their leading tackler with 7 tackles. And in this game, the Cardinals had 28 first downs, nearly 3 times as many as the Niners, who had 10 first downs in this game. And just one point was the Cardinals had 9 first downs that they ran for. The Niners just 3 passing first downs. So they had 3 times as many rushing first downs as the Niners had passing, and twice as many passing as rushing, because they had 15 versus 7. But that's anyway. On third down, the Niners were 4 for 12, converting just 33%. The Cardinals 6 for 13, converting 46%. They were also 1 for 1 on 4th downs, converting 100%. Total net yards, the Cardinals 446, just 156 for the Niners. That's 290 more net yards for the Cards. And on the ground, the Cardinals netted 139 yards, 103 netted by the Niners. And through the air, the Cardinals netted nearly 6 times as many passing yards, netting 307, although Palmer was sacked once for a 4-yard loss. The Niners netted only 53 passing yards in this game, as Kaepernick was sacked twice for a total of 14 yards lost. We look at the penalties, not really that many, especially compared to many of the other games this week, as they combined for just 10, as the Niners had 6 penalties for 45 yards, the Cards just 4 penalties for 24. I believe that's the least penalized team this week. Each team fumbled the ball, but neither team lost their fumbles. The Niners fumbled once and the Cards twice, but as I said, they recovered the fumbles, that they did not lose any of those. And we look at the red zone. The Niners were actually 100% in the red zone, but they only reached the red zone once in the game, 1 for 1. The Cardinals 4 for 5 in the red zone, scoring 80% of the time. And on the time of possession, Arizona had it for 36 minutes and 32 seconds. San Francisco just 23 minutes and 28 seconds. And in this game, they got off to a hot start right away. Those 2 pick sixes really set the tone. It really changed the nature of this game. It allowed the Cardinals to just run the ball. They actually are a team that tends to have a lot more success through the air, but with the big lead, playing with that lead, they could afford to run it and stay committed to the run. And Chris Johnson had a heck of a game, especially against the Niners defense that shut down Adrian Peterson in week 1. But here in week 3, We see Chris Johnson, a $110 on the ground, 150 total yards in this game. Even ran for 2 touchdowns. As he was having a lot of success on the ground. Of course, you gotta think they're probably thinking they're gonna pass more, at least going into the game. They're game planning to be seeing more passes. Palmer did throw for over 300 yards and had a couple touchdowns, but it was a very balanced attack that they incorporated. He only threw the ball 32 times. Say Johnson alone rushed it 22 times. So they actually ran the ball more than they threw it, as they ended up running it 37 times in this game. Of course, one of those was a scramble. Actually, even a few of those were scrambles. This Drew Stanton even came into the game. But just a total dominant performance by the Cardinals. The Cardinals are playing at a very high level. Their defense is just looking phenomenal, especially in this game, the way they just dominated the Niners. They're 3-0. They're in first place in the West. And the Niners falling to 1-2. I didn't really think they were going to have much of a season, as it were. They did get off to that win in week 1, but 2 straight losses now, and they're more looking like the team that we expected them to be. And the Cardinals, they said they're off to a hot start here, and if they stay healthy, this is a solid team. And with the performance by Johnson on the ground, it gives hope for their one weakness. The one weak spot really on the Cardinals team is the running game. But if they can get performances like this from Chris Johnson, I don't know who's going to stop the Arizona Cardinals when already you got Carson Palmer under center, and he's been performing at a very high rate. And of course that receiving core and Fitzgerald seems to be rejuvenated this year. Of course they got John Brown. Even Jerron Brown didn't really do much in this game, but he's another target. And even Floyd as well. He only had 1 catch, but he's another guy out there to where they have so many weapons at Carson Palmer's disposal. Listen, if they can get things going like they did today on the ground, they'll be a tough team to beat in 2015. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.